When it's the first chapter when it starts, so I'm just going to read this because it looks interesting. Leo's point of view. I was in the lair one day when Raph came in and he looked mad at something. I just looked in those eyes and he looked in mine, but it got cut short because he just stomped off into his room and locked it. I waited for a minute before I followed him. When I got there, I knocked on the door. Raph? You there? I waited before I knocked again. Raph, can I talk to you, please? I heard the door unlock and I went into my surprise. Raph was curled up in a ball on the bed. Wait, was he crying? I said in my head. Raph, are you okay? He just turned to face me and said, Leo, I'm sorry for being so mean to you. I didn't mean it. Ooh, what's the second part about? I wonder. The next chapter, when he tells him. Ooh. Leo's point of view. I was shocked at first to see him crying, but all I managed to say was, no, why would you say that? You're just protective of us all, is all. I said, looking at him also crying. Too, when he seen me almost also crying, he got up and came over to me and hugged me. He said those 3 little words, I love you, Leo. That's 4 words, but there we are. And that when I started to cry, because I had a crush on him too, but there is a secret I have not told them, and that is that I'm a girl. I'm not his brother, but a sister. I told Master Splinter and he told me to act like one of the boys until they were ready to know. So I think it is almost time to tell them, and I hope Raph will still love me. Raph's point of view. Leo came into my room. I was on my bed after I got in a fight with Mikey and Donnie and they called me a bad brother. And when Leo looked at me, I started to cry. I asked him if I was a bad brother. All he said was, no, why would you say that? You're just protective of us, is all. I looked at him, almost crying, and I got up and hugged him. And yes, before you say anything, I do have feelings for my brother, but the feeling is not like a brotherly love. I told him how I felt. I said, I love you, Leo, and he started to cry, so I cried with him. But I wanted to know, hang on, I'm lost now. But I wanted to know what he has been hiding from us. I needed to know what he has been hiding, so I asked him. All he said was, I'll tell you tomorrow. He kissed my cheek and asked me if he could spend the night. All I could do was nod, and that I got in my bed, and Leo got in the layer, his head on my chest. And I wrapped my arms around him and he fell asleep. I fell asleep soon after with a smile on my face and my arms around the one I love. Secrets. Just to let you know, guys, this is the last chapter I'm reading. Yeah, this is the last chapter I'm reading, guys. When I opened Raph's point of view. When I opened my eyes, Leo was still asleep in my arms. I just looked at him and played with his mask tail as he slowly woke up and looked at me. I muttered a good morning and kissed my lips and got up to get breakfast, but I pulled him onto my pasture and he blushed and said, Raffy. I just kissed him and said, you still need to tell me something. He just got up and sat at the foot of my bed. I got up and sat next to him and pulled him onto my lap and said, go ahead, you can tell me. He just looked at the floor. Oh, shit. He just looked at the floor. I put my hand on his cheek and he looked at me. And please don't leave me if I tell you. I looked at him, sad that he would ever think that all I said. There is nothing you can do to make me stop loving you. He smiled at me and said, Rafi, I'm it, girl. I looked at him and smiled. All I could say was, see, was that so hard to say? He looked at me and smiled and said, oh yeah, well, you get to tell Mikey and Donnie then. I just laid back and pulled him down with me. But this time I was on top. I started kissing her lips and then I went lower to her neck. I kissed and she let out a moan. Rafi, this is a bit like cringy, so I'm not gonna make the actual sound effects. But I guess you can like guess how she or he is moaning. I started to nibble on the soft flesh until I found a sweet spot and nibbled more, getting more moans from her. Yes, love, was all I said before she tried to get a where'd you think you'll go? And I said, all she said before she left was, I'm gonna go take a shower. Okay, fine, but hurry, we have to go talk to the guys. All she said was, fine, love you too, Rafi. So, what's going on then? Is like Leo trans, or like was he actually born a girl but everyone called him a boy? I don't even know, bruh. We're gonna have to wait until the next chapter comes out, guys.